Well, howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today I'm going to tell you the final disposition of that Dell R720 server that we got into Unky Joe's Playhouse here, a couple of months ago now. I've made my final decision on it. I put it to work. It's been up and running for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to share with you exactly how I did that. So if you've been following along on my Media Center series of videos, servers of videos, yeah, I'm going to leave that in there. That's kind of funny. Anyway, series of videos on my media server. And you know, Unky Joe, I'm prone to changing my mind. And I have done exactly that. We had a beautiful Ryzen 5 1600 built with a GTX 950 in there. It was running Emby, it was running Plex. I had it running Drive Bender. Everything was running fine. And then I realized I wanted to use that Ryzen 5 1600 for something else. So, as you know, ever since I got that Dell R720, and I've been trying to figure out what purpose I want to have that do. And the whole reason I got that Dell was because of the PCI Express lanes or slots in it that would allow me to put a aftermarket video card in there. So I purchased the Quadro K2000 video card used on eBay, and I've stuck it into that Dell R720, and that Dell R720 is going to be our new media server. It's going to run our surveillance software, it's going to run Plex, it's going to run Emby, it's going to run them well, and it's also going to serve as a hypervisor. So if I need to spool up any virtual machines, I'll be able to do that. It's also going to be running Windows Server 2019 because I like Windows Server 2019. It works well for my needs. So now there's some pros and there's some cons of the way I've got this set up. The pro is I've got my all my media on one server. So my surveillance, Emby-Plex, all that. As you know, my Dell R710 is now a storage server that's running Drive Bender. That's where I store all my media. So the only thing that the R720 is used for is encoding and decoding video, and it's a storage location for my surveillance video. But there, like I say, there are some trade-offs. With that Quadro K2000 card, the best it will do is H.264 encoding and decoding. It will not do HEVC or H.265. So it's a minor annoyance. I don't have any videos right now in H.265. And as I do, I will get another video card and slap it into that Dell R720. Now, I did try to put my GTX 950 in there. I could not get it to work stable. So I'm going to probably stick with the Quadro series of cards. Maybe get a K4000 in there, a P4000, whatever they call it. One of those that'll do H.265, but right now I'm not worried about it. Everything is running wonderfully. The live TV works both in Plex and Emby. We have now, even though we have Plex on there, Emby is our mainstay for playing videos around the house, and it's working extremely well. It also houses our music and photos and that kind of thing. So yeah, the spousal acceptance factor is high on this. The one thing that I will be wanting to do is, even though I've got old eyes, I can tell the difference between HDR videos and non-HDR videos. The color is just more vibrant on Blu-rays in HDR. And I have TVs now that are capable of doing the HDR. And it's hard to explain, but if you see the difference with your own eye, you'll see what I'm talking about on HDR videos. So I don't know how that's going to work with Plex and Emby, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Right now I have very few Blu-rays that are in HDR format, or that have the HDR on them. So here we are on the actual Dell itself. So this is the R720. It has the E5 Xeon dual Xeon E5 2620 processors in there. So I've got 2 sockets, 12 cores each, 24 logical processors. It's only got 32 gig of RAM, but it's plenty of RAM for what I'm using it for. It has a 10 gig Mellanox network card in there, and it has the NVIDIA Quadro K2000. So at idle, or with just the surveillance software, and then down here you'll see we have Plex and Emby running. If I move my pretty little face out of the way, you'll see we have Plex and Emby both running in the background. And so Blue Iris is taking up the most CPU cycles. I'm running about 7 cameras on Blue Iris. And it's also, Blue Iris is also using the most amount of memory. So, but as you can see down here, Plex is running, Emby is running. Let's see, click on them right there, Plex and Emby. They're working just fine. So the other thing I have installed on here is Hyper-V Manager. So if I want to run some VMs to do, whatever task I might have them to do, Linux or Windows VMs, I have the ability to run that under Hyper-V. But the server's been up and running now for a couple of weeks. It's working really well. I've been really happy with the performance on it. And it's good to see that this Dell is finally getting put to a good use. Now, the other thing about this Dell, at full bore, it right now running with just their surveillance running, it's pulling about 120 watts. At full bore, it goes up right around 140, 150 watts. So that's a win-win for me. That's about what the Ryzen was running at, the Ryzen 5 1600, with similar specs. It had one fewer processor in it, but it had the 16 gig RAM, I think it was. So this server still has some overhead to grow, and it has overhead, also room to grow for my surveillance system as well. So if I were to add more cameras, I could do that. Now, one of the things I've done, I got a tip from another Blue Iris user, was I went out to all my cameras and I frame limit them to 15 frames per second on the camera itself, and then I also do that under Blue Iris as well. And I run Blue Iris as a service under Windows, so that if Windows server needs to be rebooted for whatever reason, updates or whatever, the Blue Iris will start as a service automatically. Now, I could have used Windows 10 on that server, but why? Windows 10 does, it handles updates a little bit differently. So that's one of the reasons I went with Windows Server 2019, because it doesn't automatically update. It prompts you to install the updates, and I like having that control over it, or at least semblance of control over the updates. Windows 10 would not have been a good choice. It would have worked just fine, but I didn't want to have to deal with going in there and, and all the ancillary crap they put under Windows 10, all the software that's loaded without your permission. I don't need that kind of headache on a server. I just want a server to run. Right now it's been up 6 days, 20 hours, 47 minutes, and 33 seconds. I'm a big fan of Windows servers. That's why I decided to go with this. I could have done something with Linux. I could have done something like FreeNAS or that kind of thing, but I don't have any hard drives in this server. Well, with the exception of the one drive, the surveillance drive. And I don't want to spend a bunch of money buying 2.5-inch hard drives just for the sake of filling this server up with 2.5-inch hard drives. I have plenty of 3.5-inch hard drives laying around that I'm putting to good use in the Dell R720 under a drive bender drive array. And that drive array feeds this multimedia server, as we're calling it. Now, the beauty of using a server like this is I have plenty of room to grow. So a lot of people are like, hey, pick Plex or Emby, one of the two. Well, no, I want to have both, because I do testing in Plex, I do testing in Emby, and we prefer Emby, myself and my spouse. Just easier to use for us. There are other reasons. Emby doesn't collect viewing habits on you like Plex does, so that's another win for Emby. And with the ability to put PCI Express cards in this server and have additional power, if I decide I want to, jack this server up to the next level, I just get a new video card, pop it in there, and get it to work. And the beauty is it's Windows, so especially if these are NVIDIA cards, the drivers for Windows for NVIDIA are quite a bit better than they are for Linux. So yet another reason to use a Windows-based server. Plus, I know that Emby and Plex are both web-based interfaces, but it's just been my experience. I have run Emby-Plex on my Synology NAS. I have run it under a Linux operating system. I just get better response and performance on a Windows setup with Plex and Emby than I do with Linux for whatever reason. So I'm over here on my Emby setup right now, and I just wanted to give you a look at, let's go to transcoding here, and of course it's set to automatic, but if I were to set it to advanced, you'll see that it is indeed capable of using the following codecs: MPEG-2, VC1, H.264 AVC. Now, according to this, H.265 HEVC is supported with that Quadro card using DirectX 11. Now, that's something new. I swear to goodness, or swear to God, when I first installed this, this was not an option with that Quadro K2000. And when I looked up the transcoding matrix, or the matrix of supported codecs, the Quadro K2000 did not support HEVC, but I could be wrong. Of course, the preferred hardware encoder is H.264 AVC. So, according to this, it should handle H.265 video, if I'm reading this right. But I keep this on yes and just let it take care of it automatically. So, there's my setting under Emby. And I'll tell you, with this last iteration of Emby, the 4.3.1.0, Emby has been running great. Whereas before I had some glitches with this web interface, it would crash frequently and slow down over time. It's been up and running for, like I said, 60, how many days has it been up and running now? 6 days. Yeah, I haven't had any issues at all with Emby running in this configuration. So we have put that Dell R720 to work. In fact, I'm on it right now. But one thing I didn't do is plan for my surveillance video. Well, I did, but I didn't. Let me show you what the problem is. So if we come over here to File Explorer in this PC, you'll see that my local disk D, these are two IBM 140 gig hard drives in a mirror. And the problem is I'm running out of space, and that is because I have got my Blue Iris footage stored over here. So what we're going to do today is we're going to replace that mirrored drive set with this drive right here. And this is back when I bought my laptop a couple of years ago that I ended up giving to my spouse. It came with a Seagate, what is that? It's a Seagate Mobile HDD 1 terabyte, but that should be fine for recording video. So, and it doesn't need to be mirrored because none of this video is critical that I record. I just need it for, whatever purposes. So if I need to archive the video, I can do it. I can take it off of here and put it onto my main system. So today what we're going to do is we're going to replace those mirrored drives with this single 2.5-inch notebook drive in that Dell R720, and I hope it's going to work. And you're going to come along with me while we do it. Now, the first thing I really need to do is I want to save the footage that's on there, just in case. So I need to move this onto another drive. So I think what we'll do is just move this over to the Dell 1 hypervisor. I think that'd be a good idea. So let's go over to Dell 1 hypervisor, and I have a media folder over there, and I have video, and I have one marked camera. So I think what I'll do is just move this footage over here temporarily, and then once we get the drive reinstalled, we'll move it back. So I'm going to leave that window there, and I'm going to open this one in a new window. And then I'm just going to grab the folder called Blue Iris, and I'm going to copy, and then we'll paste it right here. And that's going to take a while. It's about 130 gigs, so it's going to take, it says 26 minutes. So we'll get the data copied, then we'll shut down the server, and we'll install this 1 terabyte drive in there. So we have the data safely transferred over to a network location, so we can go ahead and close this. Now, one thing I failed to show you was I went into Blue Iris and told it to stop running as a service so that I could copy the data. And in Blue Iris is where you also tell it to save your data, which is the D drive. Now keep in mind on this unit I also have Plex and Emby running. So I need to go ahead and shut down the server now, remove those drives, those 2 drives, put the 1 drive in there, and then we'll boot back up and go to the iDRAC interface, see if we can't get this drive installed. Alright, so let's come across here and let's log into our iDRAC controller. Now we can do this through Google Chrome and Windows 10 because the iDRAC 7 runs with HTML5. So we should be good. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and power the unit on. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the console. And we'll get ready to press the key to go into the controller. Now it should error out because it's not going to see the 2 hard drives that were in the array. Well, folks, for whatever reason, OBS crapped out on me. It crashed, so I don't know what to tell you. I apologize. Basically, what I had to do in here was go and make this a RAID-capable disk. So I did Control-N to go to the next page, made it a RAID-capable disk, came back to this page, then went up to the top here, right up here in this area, hit F2, and created a new virtual disk. And as you can see now, I've called it Surveillance. So we should be good. So I'm assuming I can just escape out of here, and then I can send Control-Alt-Delete, and hopefully it'll boot into Windows. Now, because the hardware has changed, it's going to go through a reconfiguration, and it's going to reboot after it does this. I also removed one of the power supplies from it. I don't need redundant power supplies on this server. Well, we were successful. We're booted now into Windows, so let's go and do disk management and see if we can see our hard drive in here now and get it formatted. And indeed, we do. And we can see it's got a bunch of partitions on it that we need to get rid of. So let's go through and delete all the volumes on here. Don't need any of these. Alright, now the other thing I want to do is right click on here, and you see this is a GUID disk, and the way I know that is because I have the option here to convert to an MBR. Let's see if it tells us under properties that it's a GUID device. Yeah, GUID partition table. That's fine. We're not going to be booting off this drive, so we'll just leave it alone. Now I'm going to create a simple volume on it. Assign drive letter D. And I'm going to do REFS. I've been using that a lot lately. And if you have any questions on REFS, just do a Google search on it. They'll tell you all about it. And I'm just going to call this Surveillance. Next, finish. It should format that fairly quickly. It did, so we should now see a D drive on there. And indeed we do. It's empty. So now what I'm going to do is go back to the Dell, the media and videos, and that camera footage, and I'm going to copy back the Blue Iris onto the D drive. And then when that's done copying, I'll come back and we'll we'll bring up Blue Iris and make sure it's working properly. The copy has completed, and it looks like everything is where it should be. Yep, there's new, there's stored. Alright, so now let's go ahead and launch Blue Iris, because we'll need to turn it back on as a service. And hopefully it'll see all the clips and everything out there. And then I'm going to adjust some of the settings. So yeah, it looks like the clips are there. We'll know more here in a minute. Now, it takes a couple of minutes, or it takes a few seconds for it to start up. You see we got a yellow traffic signal, meaning it's going to go live here in about 16 seconds. So we'll let it go live. It looks like my dog has crawled across the floor. Pay no attention to him. And it looks like he had a little poopy. So it's mid-afternoon. We need to change out his binky. He's crippled. His hind end is crippled. So, but as you can see, he's still pretty active. Okay, so we're going to come up here to the settings, and we're going to go to startup, and we're going to change this to run as a Windows service. Tell it OK. And then we'll need to close Blue Iris. And then we'll double click on it again. And let's see if the Blue Iris service is starting up here. It is. Okay. Alright, so now we'll click on clips and archiving, and I'm going to change these settings. So I'm going to go ahead and limit the size of this to, let's see, the new clips, we'll do it, let's say 200 gigabyte, and we'll do it for a week, 7 days. And then on the stored, we'll do it to 500 gigabyte, and I want to store up to 60 days of stored recordings. Actually, we'll go ahead and increase that to 800 gig, just in case. Tell it OK. And now we should have plenty of space to hold our recordings. Now I'm going to see if I can close it here, and if it continues to run in the background, and it does. Alright, now let's open a browser window and see if it's all working as it should be. Alright, let's see if we can log in now. Alright, let's see if we can bring up our various cameras. There's one. There's two. Yep, that was a bird flying into the scene. Now let's go to our alerts, and let's actually go to clips. Let's go to alerts, side door. Yeah, it looks like everything's working. Yeah, there's my dog. Here's the front porch. There's a car going by. Here's me doing some stuff. Yeah, so it all looks good. So, success. Now, the other thing to be aware of is this server, just like the R710, will be a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week server. It'll be up and running all the time. So I'll have two of these Dells available to me at any one time. Now, the Dell R710 is the one with the L5640 Xeon CPUs and 96 gig or 96 gig of RAM. That'll be my primary storage server for video and music, that kind of thing. But it's also my primary hypervisor. So when I want to create lab units or whatever, excuse me, that's what that server is for. But this Dell R720, also having Hyper-V running on it, gives me some reserve capacity. So if I need to move VMs around to do maintenance or whatever, I can of course do that. Now I still have another Dell R710 in the rack that's not been provisioned yet. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to run on that. And that IBM 3650 Model 3, which I haven't provisioned as well. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to run on that. But I like keeping those two units available so I can try some new whiz-bang software if it comes out. So there you go, YouTube. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative, if nothing else. Please give us a thumbs up down below. Leave your comments in the comments section. If you're inclined to donate, we take PayPal and we take Patreon. Our content is also mirrored on Library. And down in the comments section, you can see the link to our Library account over there. So if you'd prefer to watch us over on Library, that's fine as well. Thanks for coming to see us. Come see us again. And don't forget, we'll see you on the other side.